sponsored by Shirts and Giggles, direct-to-garment printing. Direct-to-garment is the future of t-shirts. We design t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies custom-made to order with vivid detail. Find us on Amazon.com or Facebook at T-Shirts and Giggles. Good evening or afternoon, depending on what side of the pod you're on, and welcome to Across the Pitch. Today, Tony Robinson and myself, Phil Kennedy, will be joined by an extra special guest. We have Will Gilbert from Will Gilbert Report, who covers the Tranmere Rovers. And, of course, they're going to be playing against Accrington Stanley at the WHAM Stadium. So we're doing a brand new segment on the show called Opposition Report today. And Will has joined us, is going to fill us in a little bit. Welcome to the show, Will.
Thank you. It's nice to be on.
There's no pressure, Will. No pressure at all.
No pressure.
Now, you're at willgilbertreport.wordpress.com, where you do match reports on all of the Tranmere games, and you really first caught my eye with the report that you wrote after the promotion playoffs. But tell us a little bit about your website and what you do with Will Gilbert Football Reports.
Basically, I've enjoyed writing for quite a long time, and I've enjoyed football for quite a long time, so I just thought, why not combine the two and do a bit of writing about football, and it just took off from there, really.
Impressive part is you're only 17, and I've got to say that your website is better than most professional websites out there. I mean, there's guys that have been to journalism school and have been writing longer than you've been alive, and your website has got more in there than they do. So anybody who cares about Tranmere at all, make sure you go to Will Gilbert Football Reports, because you really get the lowdown. Now tell us, what are some of your favorite articles that you've written on the site so far? Which articles should people look for first?
I like writing a lot about the season preview. I did one covering every League One team. That took a lot of work, but I was very proud of it. I've also done a little mini-series looking back at former Tranmere players and where they are now, really, from some of the club's biggest games in the recent times.
Your all-time favorite player for Tranmere?
My all-time favourite player, James Norwood, all day.
You might say that. I'm sure it was pretty rough seeing him go to the Tractor Boys.
I know, yeah, but it wasn't nice seeing it. No, it wasn't nice.
Well, he also, I think he joined the year after Caden Jackson joined from Stanley. So we've got something in common. We both lost players to Ipswich.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you find, Will, because of the loss of James Norwood, has that been a big impact on Tranmere this season, or is there a combination of things? But is it Norwood going that has been a big factor for you guys?
There's obviously been a lot of factors as to why we aren't as high as we want to be. A lot of the players that left in the summer had actually been with the club for around 4 or 5 years, so we lost that main core of the squad. But obviously, when you lose a 30-goal a season striker, it's going to be very, very hard to replace that. So that's probably been the biggest blow, Norwood going.
Now, with and up to a few years ago, Accrington was always a team that was built on players on 1-year contracts. Is that the case at Tranmere, or is it just the matter of all the contracts seem to come up at one time?
We never normally do 1-year contracts unless they're nearing the end of their career. But as far as I'm aware, every player we've ever given a 1-year contract to tends to do really well in that 1 year and earns themselves extra time.
And they stay with the club.
Yeah, they see out their career.
Now, taking a look here at the League One table, it's been a tough go of things for Tranmere so far. Right now, you're sitting on 26 points with 7 back of Rochdale and 30 who are at 33 points, and then 8 back of AFC Wimbledon, who are at 34 points. So you're still within 3 games of each of those 2 teams from a point standpoint. You also have 2 games in hand on Wimbledon and 1 game in hand on Rochdale. So do you think that from what you've seen that you're positioned to be able to pass up one of those teams and stay up here at the end of the season?
Yeah. There's obviously a lot of character in the squad, and that is very clear to see when I've gone to the games. It hasn't helped we've had a lot of games called off, so that does result in us having a lot of games in hand when you'd rather probably have the points on the table. But if you look at our next month, we've got Rochdale next month, this month in March. We've got Wimbledon as well, playing the likes of
great games for you then.
Yeah, they're very, very important games, yeah. On top of, we've got Milton Keynes as well, who are also just hovering above us too.
I think you play Lincoln as well. I think you're playing all the teams just above you. You play in the next month, I think, right?
Yeah. But pretty much everybody that's above us in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So it's going to be a massive, massive month.
Now, and I mean, this match upcoming, obviously, you're at Stanley. I mean, that's a close enough that you guys should be able to send quite a few fans up to WHAM Stadium, I would take it.
Yeah, I think it's only around an hour and a half down the road from where we are. But regardless of the form, we always travel in our numbers. So yeah, it's going to be an impressive number, I think.
Well, I was looking at some of the numbers, and when I look at the capacity of your stadium, Prenton Park, I think you've got the one stand that's known as the Cop, as more capacity in that stand than in the entire stadium at WHAM Stadium. So just don't set your sights on that you're going to see a big stadium.
No, I've been to Accrington before. I actually really like it.
Well, before we get into the matchup here, because I know that's the meat of what we wanted to talk about today is the big match on Saturday. I did just have one quick question that comes from Aaron Ayers, who is one of our other co-hosts, and he was very disappointed that he wouldn't be able to be on this interview because he has a bit of a love-hate relationship with Tranmere. But he wanted me to ask if you've ever ran into Mike Dean at Prenton Park, and what's Mike Dean like when you're there at the Tranmere games?
Yeah, I've run into Mike a few times and spoken to him. He's very nice. He's very down to earth.
Those guys that you can tell that he really just loves every minute of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, he loves it. You can tell he loves it.
All right, well let's go ahead and get into the matchup here, which is of course Tranmere versus Accrington that's happening here on Saturday, and then we should probably start off by talking about the last matchup, which ended in a draw, and that was one of the most physical games that I had seen all season. Is that kind of how the games tend to go, or is Tranmere one of those teams that's just really physical week in and week out?
I think they are very physical. They go into every tackle. They never leave anything behind. They go full effort. They're very aggressive. Sometimes it doesn't work in our favour, but when it does work in our favour, it obviously results in a good result.
Yeah, I mean, in this league, everybody says what a grind League One is, and you guys definitely just seem to have those players that know how to grind it out, and of course, so many guys that are on your club have the experience from last year with the promotion. But let me ask you this: so if I'm going to the WHAM Stadium on Saturday, give me the name of two or three guys on Tranmere that I want to keep an eye on that are maybe not the biggest names, but who are the guys that cover the most ground and do the little things that don't show up on the stat sheet?
I'd probably say Corey Blockett-Taylor. We signed him in the summer from Aston Villa. He's got bags of skill. He's so fast, and he will leave players behind. Also, Kieran Morris. He's not the quickest, got a lot of skill though, and he knows how to put the ball in the net. And Manny Monte, our centre-back, he's a very, very big lad, very powerful. And I'm sure you've probably seen photos of him in videos and whatnot.
He sounds a bit like the centre-back at Stanley, Ross Sykes. He's a tall, big lad, lots of skill, and likes to put himself about. He's good in his own box, and he's also good in the other end too. So they sound quite similar players. Yeah,
definitely. He's very good in the air. He wins a lot of headers. But yeah, I wouldn't want to run against him. Definitely wouldn't want to run against him.
Do you find noticing? I mean, obviously last year League One and then moving up. You've gone from National League, League One, and League Two. To League Two to League One. Do you notice that big of a difference in the caliber of players and the quality of play?
Oh yeah, definitely. Probably go back around 12 months to when we were in League Two, and I'd go into a game full of confidence because the gap between the conference and League Two wasn't that big. Stepping up to League One, you've got teams like Sunderland, Ipswich. Like the quality that they're going to have is going to be a lot better than anything you've come up against before.
I think, and when Stanley made it up to League One, they obviously were in League Two for 10 years or more. I think the biggest thing from a fan's perspective was when these big clubs came, Sunderland, Ipswich, Portsmouth, what have you. I think it was the big thrill of seeing these former Premier League teams come. Now at Stanley, that thrill is worn off, and the expectation is now that we should be competing against teams like that. Do you have the same sort of feelings with Tranmere? Yeah,
well, I think we've played Portsmouth quite a few times anyway, from back when we were still a league club before relegation. But it was surreal, like going to the Stadium of Light. You expect a tough game. We obviously got beat 5-0. Yeah, you do expect us to be competitive, but you've got to be understanding a bit more as well if you don't get a result against the big ones.
I mean, from a fan's point of view, it's quite a thrill when you're going into, like from Accrington fan or a Tranmere fan going in the Stadium of Light. Do you think that affects the players?
Yeah, as much as they probably play it down, it probably really does excite them at least a little bit because it's probably nothing they've played in before. Obviously, a lot of our current squad has played at Wembley with us a few times, but in a league game, you're not going to get much bigger than Sunderland in League One.
Yeah, and Wembley's a bit of a tough, touchy spot with Stanley fans because they're one of the only two clubs that haven't made in the Football League that haven't been to Wembley. So we'll skip over that one and move to the next topic.
Yeah.
Now, when you watched the game when Stanley came to Tranmere earlier this season, who were some of the guys on Stanley's side of the ball that struck out to you that you think are going to maybe give you guys some trouble?
Oof, I can't remember who scored your goal. I really can't remember who scored your goal that day. But I do remember. I remember you scoring, and I remember you having quite a few more chances. I think it was a winger, your pacey winger.
It was Sean McConville who scored it. Now, Sean McConville, he's actually torn his Achilles since then, so he won't be there.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about Colby Bishop as well. I know he came from, I think, was it the Conference North, maybe? Very low down. And he's
Leamington.
Really well for you.
Yeah, he came from Leamington, yeah.
Yeah,
Colby. Now, looking at that first matchup, I mean, the stats were as close as you could get. Possession was 51-49 in favor of Stanley. Passes were 318, 313 in favor of Tranmere. Tranmere had 4 shots on target. Stanley had 6 shots on target. So I mean, just looking at at the game, it was really a close and even matchup. So I really expect that this is going to be a really tight game. And what are you expecting? Are you expecting a high scoring or a low scoring game here on Saturday?
I think there'll probably be one goal in it, to be honest. I think whoever does come away with 3 points, if there is a winner, it'll only be by one goal. I don't think it'll be decisive. I'm expecting, a very tight, cagey affair. Obviously, we've both got similar aims, which is maintaining a place in the division and building on it. So it's going to be full of passion, and it's probably going to spill over. It's going to be a very active game.
Yeah, I think, and just to give a bit of hope or sort of a positive note for Tranmere coming to watch Accrington is, I think, and Phil, you may be able to correct me on this, but I think Accrington leads the league in missed chances within the box. I think.
I'm not 100% sure on that stat, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Stanley with Jordan Clark and Joe Pritchard and Callum Johnson, between those three guys, the way that they hit crosses, I don't doubt it, especially because you have Colby has been dealing with injuries on and off all year, and he's certainly our most consistent guy up front. Otherwise, we'd be kind of shuffling guys in and out. So I think that it really has a lot to do with just inconsistency up front, where we have the guys to hit the crosses, but then the finishers, it's going to be a different guy every week. It has been recently.
I think too. Also, one of the it seems one of the expectations for Stanley fans. When they're playing a team that are in the lower regions, and I'm referring back to when they played Southend, they don't always really come out with the result that they'd hope to. So as from Tranmere's point of view, when you look at that, saying, listen, there's a chance, Stanley, we can go at them if we play the right game. That's got to be some positive notes for you guys.
Yeah. Well, I know, regardless of who we're playing, we're always going to have a good go at them. It always helps to have a team lower down in the table to be able to do that with, because they'll be obviously a similar quality. But I am expecting us to really have a go on Saturday.
Yeah. What do you think as far as obviously we're down a team in League One, so there's only the 46 matches. What do you think the points total is going to be needed to stay up?
Well, normally it's 46 games. You expect around 50 points. 50 points to be the safety mark.
Right.
Obviously, taking out 2 games there, I'd say maybe 44, 45. I'd say. It's going to be a long way for Tranmere to get there, but I'm very confident they can do it still. Well,
if you can beat all the teams, like you've got, you say Rochdale, Wimbledon, Lincoln, and MK Dons, you get 4 wins out of there. That puts you, right in the mix, doesn't it? Yeah.
They're the games that we should be winning. You can accept losing to the big dogs of the league, but when you're playing the teams around you, you really need to be getting them results. And that's what will keep you up at the end of the season. So that's what I think we're really relying on now, to get them results.
So you're not aiming to catch teams like Accrington, Shrewsbury. You're aiming to catch the MK Dons, Wimbledon, and the team Rochdale, the teams just above you, right?
Yeah. I think Milton Keynes are a bit out of our reach now, but Rochdale and Wimbledon certainly, yeah. Especially that we're playing them next month as well, or in the next few weeks. It's crucial that we catch up with them. Absolutely massive.
Now, looking at your schedule, it really is, to me, it's the next 8 weeks that are going to decide your season, because when I look at the last 4 weeks, outside of a match with Gillingham, the other 3 teams that you play, you start off with Rotherham on the 13th of April. You have Oxford on the 25th of April. Your final game of the season is on the 3rd of May against Peterborough United. All 3 of those teams are going to be fighting for a playoff or a promotion spot. So 3 of your last 4 games are certainly probably not ones you marked off on the calendar at the beginning of the year as wins. So I think that these next 8 are, of course, Stanley. Then you also have Blackpool, Lincoln, Rochdale, Wimbledon, MK Dons, Doncaster, and a rescheduled match with Fleetwood. So I'm thinking that you're probably going to need 13 points out of those 8 games would be what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, definitely. The last 4 games, I think, are probably the toughest games you could probably have in the entire division. Even looking at Gillingham, I think right now, I'm pretty sure Gillingham are one of the form teams of the division. Obviously, they lost to Wimbledon on the weekend, but they've been on a good run up until then. Peterborough, we don't have a very good record against Peterborough. And obviously, they've got some deadly strikers that you don't want to come up against. Oxford are now also a very free-scoring side. But yeah, it's all about the teams around us. It's all about getting the results against them, and that's all that really matters at the moment.
I think, when you look, as Phil's talking about the fixture list, and you look at and the month of March, 6 matches, and 4 of them are away. So that's a tough month, and really it could determine your fate for League One, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, obviously you'd rather be at home than away, but I actually think our away record's better than our home record. So, if we have to get the result away from home, then we have to get the result away from home. As long as we get the results, I don't really care where we get them.
Yeah, and do you know when the Fleetwood match, has it been rescheduled yet?
Yes, it's the 21st of April, I think, that Tuesday night.
Okay, so you've got, in April, yeah, because you've really got no openings in March.
I know, yeah, we're pretty much Saturday, Tuesday now until the end of the season. We've got a lot of games coming up.
Yeah, 32 matches, you've played less than anybody, and that's an advantage in many ways because you have 2 games in hand on most of the teams ahead of you, at least 1 game in hand on everyone. The only team that you don't have a game on hand is Bolton, and they're too far back to worry about. So, I mean, it's a lot of matches, but it's also more opportunities to get points than the other teams have, Lau.
Yeah, exactly. You want to win your games in hand. You'd rather have the points on the table, but I suppose it's something for the other teams to maybe sweat about. They think we've got to get a result here because Tranmere have 2 games coming up, they can overtake us. You want that kind of mentality. You want other teams to be fearing what you could do.
Yeah. Just I want to ask you too about your manager. Obviously, he's been there, I think, 4 or 5 years now, correct?
Yeah, 4.5 years now.
Yeah. So, and we've been when I'm talking about Stanley. They have obviously a manager from the Liverpool area that's in his second spell, but basically he could do no wrong in Accrington. Is that the sort of sense you get that people are looking at Mickey in the same light?
Yeah, he obviously has his doubters. As I think every manager does have their doubters, no matter what people say. To guide Tranmere through back-to-back promotions is obviously something very impressive. I don't think many other managers would be able to do that. He also had a few spells playing with the club. But in my eyes, and a lot of people's eyes, he really is a legend at the club, and he can do no wrong.
So, I mean, this is a nice thing, I think, when you see clubs like Tranmere and Accrington, is that the chairmen are not ready to pull the plug just because somebody's going through a bit of a rough spell. They'll still stay with the managers. And I think consistency in the long run is a good thing. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah,
consistency definitely leads to success. We got beat at Wembley in the playoff final in Mickey's first season with us, and it could have been so easy for them just to sack him off then and try and get somebody new in. But we stuck by him, and obviously he's repaid us by taking us up to League One. But you look at the top of the game, and it's so easy nowadays to for a club to sack their manager after one bad spell. But that's it's not the answer.
No, I think Watford has proven that. I mean, they're on the third manager, and look where they. I think the consistency and
then hit me Liverpool.
Are you a Liverpool supporter as well? Is that your second club, or do you have a second club?
No. A lot of the the proper Tranmere fans, we really have no time for Liverpool. We don't like them very much.
Now, I know our buddy Aaron, who's one of our other co-hosts, got in big trouble for this, as he had written an article and described Tranmere as being in Liverpool, and you guys don't like that one bit, do you?
Oh, no, definitely not from Liverpool, not at all.
That was something that he wrote that article, and I think that was the most comments that we ever got was people explaining to him that Tranmere is not in Liverpool.
No, we're a full river away. There's a river between us.
And the reason I was asking, I mentioned about a second club is because, as you know, Accrington is situated almost smack in the middle of between Blackburn and Burnley. And when, of course, Stanley went out of the league in '62, and a lot of people in the area picked another club. And Stanley, although have a lot of good supporters, Stanley is in some cases the second club for some supporters. Just because of where they're situated. And I didn't know if that was the same. Obviously, it's not with Tranmere, so which is a positive thing. You don't have to worry about people going to watch another club.
Yeah, I think, obviously, a lot of the Tranmere fans are out-and-out Tranmere fans, but we do obviously have a lot of supporters from Liverpool and Everton coming over, which it's obviously great for the club because it's financially good for us, and it's always nice to have the extra bit of support. But I don't think a lot of the Tranmere fans would be going to support Liverpool games.
I know when Blackburn and Burnley are both away, and Stanley's the only match, the actual attendance does increase, because we get people coming from that say, if there's no match at Rovers or Burnley, they'll go watch Stanley. So I know Stanley does benefit from that, but as I say, they're in a geographical position where it really does sort of have an effect on the attendance.
Yeah, that normally is the case. We normally get a few more hundred through the gate, I think, when Liverpool and Everton aren't playing. But yeah, it is nice to still have as many hands on deck as possible.
In some ways, it's just such a different experience. Just to give you a little bit of a backstory on myself, is being an American. Obviously, I didn't grow up with a hometown English team, and of course, the Premier League is what they show on TV over here. So I had always been an Arsenal fan, and I had followed them, but then once I started following the lower leagues and learned about Stanley, and they quickly became my first club, just because to me, proper football, and it's just like the Premier League, to me, it's just like something that's a TV show, where the lower leagues, that gives me the same feeling that I get when I go out to a local Phoenix Rising game here, for instance.
Yeah, I think with the Premier League, it's more like a TV show than it is a sport, in my opinion. You can see with the lower league, though, that I think that obviously the skill and the quality in the Premier League is a lot better than the lower leagues, but the passion in the lower league is so much more, and I think it's worth so much more.
Well, I think you hit the key
right there.
Yeah,
the key word, passion.
Absolutely, the passion, and especially I think in a small stadium, and as you say, you've been to the WHAM Stadium, but being in a small atmosphere, when you see the passion, you can hear the tackles, you can smell the mud, and it just adds to the atmosphere, which I think is missing even when you at a Premier League match.
Yeah, I think as well, what you've got to consider is, when you go to a Premier League game, there's 60,000 people in a stadium. They're not all going to be able to sing the same song or get behind in the same way. Whereas when it's a small stadium with 3,000 people in, everyone's tight packed together. Everyone has one love, which is the same club, and everybody just wants the same thing, which is just success. Everybody loves their local club when they're a lower league supporter, and it helps out financially as well.
Well, I think you'll. It's always a good experience at Stanley for away fans, because I think they've been voted or nominated for awards for away day experience for fans, So I know Andy Holt, the chairman, has put a lot of effort into welcoming away supporters because it's a big deal to get fans in and also make sure they want to come back.
Yeah, exactly. I know Andy Holt is a very good owner. I know him and Mark Polios, who's the Tranmere owner, really get on. The club means a lot to them. It's not like the Premier League where it's like a business and it's a franchise, and the owners only care about sponsorships and money. The owners in the lower leagues, especially like you say, like Andy Holt, like Mark Polios, they really do care about the club, and that's key when going to a game.
Well, when Stanley's home matches, if they win, he puts on a pound a pint, does Andy Holt. So I don't think there's many chairmen who'd want to do that. Certainly wouldn't do that in the Premier League, would they?
No. That just shows how much a win means to the lower leagues.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something about the culture that it just builds, and it's the same thing that we have here with Phoenix Rising, who are our local USL club, which is the second tier here in the United States, and our stadium holds just under 7,000, and we fill it up, and we have what's called the South End, which is our supporters section, and I'll tell you what, the goalie that's on the end, the South End, I swear we definitely score more goals when we're shooting at the South End, because we can really get in that goalie's head, and I just think that's something that you don't see at the Premier League or like Serie A, La Liga, any of the big money leagues.
Yeah, I think we score a lot more goals at our top end. We have a big group down at the bottom where I normally sit. That's where the atmosphere normally originates from. And I've walked along the side before when the atmosphere is rocking, and it's it would be intimidating to come against that. So I think it's key that you score the goals in front of your own fans.
Yeah, and at Stanley too, in the Clayton end, it's not a big end, but they have the Old Stanley Ultras and the drums and the singing going, and for not a large group of fans in that area, but they certainly do make a lot of noise. And I know Stanley they like playing in to that end, and when they score, it's a big deal, as opposed to obviously at WHAM Stadium, the away end is pretty wide open, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a roof on it. I suppose it's always an advantage for the home team as well if you can try and keep the away fans as quiet as possible. Just don't give them a roof, because then the noise doesn't get to the players.
I think when it comes to finances, I think Andy Alt will look at putting in changing rooms before he'll probably do a roof on the away end. But and that's nothing against the away end supporters. I think it's just trying to upgrade the infrastructure of the club, and he's doing that a little bit at a time. And last year he put in a brand new pitch. So I think when you see it Saturday, you'll be, compared to what it was, I think you'll be impressed with it. Yeah,
I'm sure it will be. The infrastructure always comes first for the club. You've got to keep the club running from day to day. That's obviously the most important thing to any owner.
Yeah, and with Stanley having a smaller fan base in Tranmere, obviously, it's a bigger issue for Accrington. But I think that's why I think a lot of people think Accrington overachieved, because of the size of the club, basically the size of the fan base. Tranmere is a big club, but it still gets good support from your own fans, because you're averaging close to, I believe, around 7,000 a home match, aren't you?
Yeah. Especially considering what we've been through in the recent years, the support we have is amazing. Accrington are definitely underdogs. I'd say. What's your average attendance? Is it 2,000-3,000?
I think it's about just under 3. I think somewhere in that 28, 29 range. Yeah.
I'm sure you must be one of the lowest attended clubs in the league.
I think probably the lowest.
Probably the lowest, yeah. But yeah, that's what makes it so impressive.
The smallest stadium by capacity.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it so impressive, what Accrington have achieved. obviously you look at the history of your club, and I think what was this time you got into League One the first time you've ever been?
Yes.
Third division. Yeah, exactly. So it's a massive achievement for Accrington, and it's somewhere that probably not a lot of people expected to ever see you reach up to.
No, I think and our goal last year, when it was obviously to survive in League One, and this year, and I to get established. And I think they've unfortunately had some injuries this season, but if we can solidify a position into League One and go into a third year, I think that puts the club in good standing. But as far as the experts or the pundits, they always seem to want to pick Accrington as a relegation favorite, and they always seem to defy the odds. And hopefully Tranmere can and Accrington can both do the same thing this year.
Yeah, exactly. I think myself, I did have you nailed on to go back down to League Two this season. You've proven me wrong. And instead it's Tranmere in that position, unfortunately. But it'd be great if Tranmere and Accrington could be a regular League One fixture in coming seasons.
Yeah, who's your actual local derby? Like, do you have one? Is there a team that like you play that would be considered a local derby?
Well, maybe it would have been considered Wrexham or Chester. Yeah. But since them days, we obviously left them behind. I'd probably say Bolton. I know there was a lot of trouble, and there was a very good atmosphere against Bolton this season. And same again with Oldham last season in League Two. Oldham and Bolton, I'll say, probably our biggest rivals.
Yeah.
All right, now I think that what we should finish up here with is kind of what we've all been waiting for. Now, just to give a little bit of a history on the matchup here. This is going to be the 10th meeting all-time between Accrington and Tranmere. So far, Tranmere has won 5 of those matches. Accrington has won 2. There have been 2 draws. Accrington and Tranmere drew the last time that they met, which was on the 7th of December last year. And then in their 2 matchups, most recently before that, they met in League Two in the 2014-15 season, with Accrington winning their home match 3-2, and then Tranmere holding serve 3-0 when the game was played at Prenton Park in 2015. So it looks like Tranmere kind of dominated this matchup from 2008 through 2013, and then the last few years have been a little bit more even. So in the what will be the 10th all-time matchup between these two clubs, give us your final score, Will.
I think our morale and our confidence is going to be boosted. We beat Shrewsbury in our last game in injury time. It was the 94th minute. So I'm expecting us to hopefully carry that over. I'm going to say 2-1 to Tranmere.
Oh.
Tony, what's your match prediction?
Actually, I had this written down before Will was giving his prediction. I had the same score, 2-1. But sorry, Will, I got to go with Accrington.
It's understandable.
Well, I think that we're all in agreement that it's going to be a close match. I mean, I think that the first match showed that neither one of these teams wants to give 6 centimeters on the pitch. So I think it's going to be one of those kind of matchups. I think that the quality chances are going to be at a premium. I think that you have a Tranmere club that knows that it needs to get points over the next 8 weeks if they're going to stay up, because like you said, those last 4 games are just an absolute gauntlet. That being said, Stanley is coming off of a match last week where I think that they came out a little bit flat. And I think that John Coleman has probably put his foot up their ass this week, for lack of a better terms. And I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to be a 1-0 Stanley victory. I think there's going to be 1 goal in this game, and whoever gets it is going to walk away with 3 points.
Yeah, shame I can't agree with you there. It's a shame.
It's going to be a great match either way. And now, Will, like we talked about last night, we have a across the pitch sign up in the fan zone at Accrington. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to have Darren Woodhead, who is the author of 50 Years of Accrington Stanley and comes on the podcast with us. I'm going to have him try and meet with you before the game and get a picture of you under the across the pitch in the fan zone. That way we can get your picture up on the website with the podcast.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that sounds great.
I hope it's a great game, and it's just a good experience for you at the WHAM Stadium, Will. And I hope you enjoy the day, and I hope it's a really good game of football.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Will, one last quick question: was this your first podcast that you've come on?
No, it's actually my second one. My first one was, I think it was last June, maybe in the summer. Just after we won promotion, I featured on a Tranmere podcast as well.
Oh, okay. Well, shoot me a link to that other Tranmere podcast that you were on last year, and we'll put that out on our page and kind of put that as a preview here so people can hear that. And then I'm going to have this episode out by what will be tomorrow your time, and good luck on Saturday, but not too good on Saturday. But otherwise, I'll tell you what. If you guys can let us have the 3 points here on Saturday, you guys go ahead and win those next 7. And
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Good luck for the rest of the season, Will.
Thank you.
Great having you on, Will.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.